Welcome back to another episode of Best Pod Available. Joe DeLeone and Ryan Roberts. Today we're going to be doing a preview for the NFL Combine that kicks off next week. We're going to be boots on the ground in Indianapolis. And a fun way that we're going to help preview the NFL Combine is we're going to be drafting teams that we think are teams of guys that we think are going to test the best. And based on their RAS scores, it will determine who is the winner. So we'll reveal who ended up winning next week. Ryan, let's start with offense. Let's get right on into it. I'm going to start us off here. We're going to do a snake draft, purely drafting guys that we think are going to perform the best at their specific positions. We get one guy per position that goes all the way through, nothing more than just one guy. I'm going to start us off here. I had a lot of deliberation on the direction that I wanted to go in, so I decided I want to prioritize a position that I think that there's really very few options of really elite athletes. I am praying that this individual decides to test, because if he tests, he will set the world on fire. If he does not test, I will look like an absolute fool, and I'm going to be pissed off. It was between him and another guy. I'm going to go with Taylor Green, the quarterback from Arkansas. I'm hoping that he tests, because I think if he ran a 40 at 6'6", around 220 pounds, he could end up putting up some ridiculous numbers. It was either him or it was Cole Payton, but I think that Taylor Green is who I want to go with.
So funny, I had two quarterbacks written down, and I forgot about Taylor Green. Taylor Green probably
I did too. I was going to come in here and take Cole Payton. And then I was like, wait a minute, Taylor Green exists. I hope he actually tests, though. He feels like a guy that would randomly kind of burn me.
Good context, though, that you mentioned was that size does matter when we're talking about relative athletic score. The bigger you are, the larger of a human that you are, then the more athletic you are with that aforementioned size does matter. So, yes, I think the 6'6", 220 plus does matter. So, I will be drafting Cole Payton, Joe, but I'll be waiting until the last pick because I don't need to force that early pick here. 2 spots. I'm actually going to get my secondary. Actually, nope, I lied. You want the sleeper pick of this mock draft, Joe? You want the sleeper pick?
Go for it.
Jeff Caldwell, wide receiver from Cincinnati, will be my pick at receiver.
I would argue that was a bad pick by you, because I wouldn't have picked. I wouldn't have picked him.
I know.
So you wasted a pick on a guy that I wouldn't have grabbed.
I did it because, I think I'm going to win that category anyway. My guy is 6'4", 200 plus pounds. Apparently he's going to run like 4.3 something, have a 40-inch vert, and like an 11-foot broad. So I will take Jeff Caldwell, and I'll keep it moving here. Safety. Actually, no. I lied. We're not going to go safety yet.
Yeah, stick with...
just offense here.
We're only doing offense to start, and then we're going to do defense.
Right. I'll take Nick Singleton, then the running back for Penn State. I think that he is going to be 220 plus pounds. He's probably going to run 4.3 high, and he's probably going to have a bunch of really good explosives. He is not a good football player, really, like functionally speaking, but he's a really good athlete. And I think in this class, where I have questions if Jeremiah Love from Notre Dame is going to test, because I think he would test phenomenally whenever he does choose to test, whether that is at the Combine or the Pro Day. I think the other guy that is for sure going to test exceptionally well is Nick Singleton, who's always been known as a great athlete. So Nick Singleton, Jeff Caldwell off the board.
Yeah, Singleton's the big steal here, because ultimately he's probably going to have the best combination of size and speed. A lot of people are going to hype up Singleton afterwards. A lot of people are going to forego the tape, but a lot of people, he's going to be a fun fan excitement name. He's going to be a fun name for fans that are watching the Combine to get excited about, but I think a lot of people will watch Singleton.
You know what he is, Joe?
That there's a lack of nuance and a lack of awareness in the way that he plays.
He is fantasy football analyst dream, is what Nick Singleton is. Former five-star.
I've already seen him popped up.
His Basmati index is crazy. He had early breakout, right? He was 1,000-yard back early in his career. All those weird indicators that fantasy football folks like to point at. Nick Singleton kind of fits that billing.
All right, this is another guy who I'm taking a little bit of a risk here, because I think that he's good to test. I don't think that anything's going to pop up.
Oh no!
I'm going to go with Caden Proctor.
You're already questioning yourself. I'm
going to go with Caden Proctor as my offensive tackle.
Okay.
This is a no-brainer of an explanation. He was on Feldman's Freaks list before the season for being a ridiculous athlete. He is just a gigantic human being. It was rumored that he got down to 350, which is pretty good for him. in a very positive sign, by the way, if he's trending downward and he's getting close to 350. But if I don't even know if I need a 40 time from him. I think at the very least, if we get some explosion numbers from him, his RAS could end up looking really good just because he's so gigantic. And as you mentioned, to reiterate, the priority here is not just getting guys that we think are going to test well. It's guys that are size and speed freaks that are explosive but also gigantic. So I think that this one's going to work.
So you have another pick, right? Because you get the back-to-back on the snake the other way. Yeah, I think it's interesting, man. Like Proctor, I'm just not going to be in on Proctor as a player. I'm just not. But I fully anticipate that he's going to do some pretty cool explosive stuff at his size. I agree with you.
I'm going to go with Logan Jones, the Iowa center, as my interior offensive lineman. He was another guy that was on the freaks list. I think that he moves really well. He's kind of an unheralded guy in this class that hasn't gotten brought up a ton. I think that there's a chance that if there's a center or just an interior guy that runs a really good 40, maybe he could be a sub-5 guy if he ends up doing well in some of the explosiveness numbers. Logan Jones is deceptively a very, very explosive athlete.
Yeah, I mean, he should test really well. He's going to continue the string of really athletic Iowa centers. Not obviously the caliber that a Tyler Linderbaum was as a prospect, but I certainly do think that he'll test really well considering his smaller size. I hate. Do you hear the word hates, Joe? I hate that you left tight end to last because there are so many guys that you could pick in the tight end crop. Like there's so many.
But that's my point.
That
I think that I would rather. Oh, so you're mad that I'm leaving you the option to choose? That's what you're upset at.
I would have rather one been off the board and then I just take it from there rather than potentially picking the wrong guy that ends up not testing as well as the others. So here's my thought process here. I'm not sold that like Kenyon Sadiq's going to test. I don't know that for a fact or for a falsity. I don't know it. But I'm going to throw him out of the board for a second here. I think Michael Trigg could do some cool things out of Baylor from an explosiveness perspective. But I'm going to go with the height, weight, speed thing for a second. And I'm actually going to go with John Michael Gillenborg out of Wyoming, Joe. Supposedly going to run 4.5 high, 4.6 low at 255 plus pounds. Going to jump really well. I think Gillenborg, especially after the season he had, which was not great, I think he's going to come back and he's going to have a really strong showing at the scouting combine because I think he needs a good showing at the scouting combine. So I'm going to go with John Michael Gillenborg from Wyoming at tight ends. I can kind of go anywhere else now because every other spot's been picked at this point.
He was on just to chime in there, he was on my short list of tight ends, but it's a long short list, so there's plenty of options that we could have gone. I'm not touching Kenyon Sadiq for the conversation because why would he test? Why would Kenyon Sadiq go out there and test? He has established himself as the best tight end in the class. There has been a noticeable gap. If something went wrong out there and he didn't test well in one area, does that then open the door for an Eli Stowers to compete with him as the number one tight end in this class? So I agree with that sentiment. Don't touch Kenyon Sadiq because he is a guy who does not make sense to go out there and test in an era where less and less guys that are consensus number one players at their positions, those guys are just choosing not to participate.
Well, I think it's more like you're competing against yourself, right? Like you have potential to be a top 20 pick. You don't want to have a bad performance and then you drop to be in the 20s or like late 20s, you know? So yeah, I think he's competing against himself there, so I wouldn't do it. Offensive tackle, I'm going to go with Demetrius Crownover from Texas A&M, Joe. Former tight end, now 6'7", 330 plus pounds. So that's the formula, I think, to test a lot better than people think. Had a really strong showing at the Senior Bowl after a up and down 2025 season. But I think if he has an athletic showing, he can continue to rise potentially into a top 100 pick in this class. And I do think that he's a guy at his height and his weight is going to test really well in the explosives.
I mean, talk about a guy who is just a huge human being. So that one makes a lot of sense. I didn't know that he had the tight end background in him, which could open the door for a surprise performance. Why don't you knock off your interior offensive lineman, and I'll give my other two guys or my other three guys to wrap up.
I'm going to cheat a little bit at interior offensive line because it's what he's being projected at, even though he played offensive tackle in college. Trey Zune out of Texas A&M is going to be my guy as interior offensive lineman because, Joe...
I think that's cheating.
It's
I
slightly
think we all
cheating.
know
I mean,
he's going to be a center or a guard. There's no one's talked about him as a tackle. So
he had some center reps this past year at Texas A&M, although he was the starting left tackle for multiple years with the Aggies. But as you pointed out already, a lot of teams have him as an interior offensive lineman, if not just straight up a center. But there are a couple teams that do have him as an offensive tackle soon, so like that's what still. So I was kind of somewhat cheating, but he's going to be. I forget what his measurables were at the Senior Bowl, but like he's 6'6" plus of a center, which that just natural size does help him in this interior offensive line conversation for RAS. So yeah, Trey's. I guess I'm going all Texas A&M with my offensive line picks: Crownover and Trey Zune as an interior offensive lineman.
All right, now for me, tight end, going with Eli Stowers. Stowers is
he going to test?
Tremendous athlete. What'd you say? Is he going to test?
I mean, he had an ankle. He had an ankle down the stretch of the season. I don't know.
Oh God! If I just put that
Don't
thought
overthink
into
it.
my
No.
head.
You stick to your guns. Stick to your guns. I'm sorry.
No. That's a good point. The other option that I was thinking of was going with Eli Raridan, who would be because he's huge. He's 6'7". He's 250 pounds. I just need a decent 40 time from him, and I might end up tracking like a ridiculous RAS.
He's supposed to run somewhere between like 4.6 flat and 4.65 or something like that. So like he can run.
He's got good long
sure.
speed, deceptively. Yeah. I'm gonna go with Eli Raridan. Let's go with the other Eli.
Can I give you the craziest number that I've seen this draft season, Joe, that no one's talking about? Jaron Kanik, who's like that undersized tight end from Oklahoma that is going to kind of be like a West Coast fullback type of kid. Do you know he ran a 10.37 in high school in the 100 meters?
Really? But how light was he when he was running that?
I don't know, but 10.37 is 10.37, bro. Like 10.37 is flying. That's flying. That tells you that kid's probably going to run super fast, even if you put on like 20 pounds in college. Like he's going to run something crazy, I think, which is just kind of. But he's not a good RAS kid because he's like 6'1", 230 something, right? So like he's not a good RAS kid. But like, I mean, if he was listed as a fullback, if we threw a fullback conversation here, then he'd be a great fullback mention.
We're not doing fullbacks.
I know we're not.
My wide receiver, I'm going to go with Bryce Lance, the North Dakota State wide receiver. I'm really intrigued to see what his long speed is going to be like. But if we're talking about a height, weight, speed guy that just has big frame, big athlete, we know his brother is a ridiculous athlete, being Trey Lance. I'm hoping that I kind of land here with Bryce Lance also being in that same bucket of premier athlete because he's such a big player. Running back, I'm having a little bit of a difficult time here because do I take Kalen Black, who was a freaks list guy? Do I take Damon Claiborne, who we think is going to be the fastest running back? I think I'm going to go with Damon Claiborne, the Wake Forest running back. He would just make a lot of sense for someone who blazed in the 4.3s and ends up having just a solid day. My only problem, though, is he's just not a very big running back, so that sets the table for him to test well, but his RAS not being anything sexy because he is a compact player.
You need to hope that he's up to 200 pounds because I think he was like 192 before the season. So like you need to hope like just be 200 and run 4.37. Like just do those two things. I don't have faith. You should just pick Jeremiah Love and just hope that he chose to test for some reason. I don't know why he would.
I seriously doubt that he's going to test. Yeah, I stole your thunder on quarterback, by the way. I jumped you on. Who you're going with? Cole Payton?
Yeah, I'm going to go Cole Payton. Cole Payton's 230 pounds. He probably is going to run high 4.5, if not for like 4.62, somewhere in that ballpark. So, I mean, he's going to test well. And he's one of those interesting ones, Joe's, because he has, like, there's no way he can't test, right? Like, he has to test. He has to do everything.
Yes.
Because he's trying to move up
That's his whole argument. That's his whole argument to getting drafted. And there's this buzz right now that he could maybe be, which we'll probably talk about on the Wednesday show, he could probably be the day two riser during this draft. You can't be the athletic freak and then not go out there and not test and not give us those numbers. And he also needs to throw, and he needs to look more comfortable throwing. So if he doesn't do any of those things, that would be really poor judgment by his agent, and that would be really, really just a waste of everybody's time.
Amon-Ra St. Brown said on the Caleb Downs, Josh Downs podcast, it was like, if you're going to run fast, why wouldn't you run? Right? Like that. I mean, that's all it comes down to.
Let everyone freak out.
That's really all it is. So I did write down just an honorable mention. I wrote down Cade Klubnik because I think Klubnik's probably going to run pretty fast, but he's just not like the biggest quarterback of all time. But that would have been my second guy if Peyton and Green weren't there.
All right, let's jump on over to defense, the defensive guys that we think are going to test the best. I'll start off with the first pick once again. because you always win at this, and I would like a little bit of an edge.
Right.
I am grappling with a couple of players. The thing that is going to be really complicated for picking in this class is that there are going to be a lot of guys that might not decide to test because they have no need to. I'm going to take Keldrick Folk, though, the defensive end from Auburn. I am another guy who I'm hoping that he shows up in tests. But the thing with Keldrick Folk, he is the biggest physical profile of any of these defensive ends. And if he ends up showing up on the heavier side like he was playing this past year, that is going to help me for his RAS score. I think that there is an opportunity for Keldrick Folk, knowing that he is an explosive athlete. I don't need him to go get a sack out there. I don't need him to do any of that. I just need him to put up some good numbers, have a good 40 if he decides to run, or at the very least do his jumps really well, and he'll end up winning me this category.
So upset, Joe. That was my guy on the edge. That was him. That was the guy. I am going to go with my two. I'm going to start with the interior defensive line. I'm going to go with Caleb Banks from Florida at 6'6", 335 pounds. I think that he still has enough questions where it will be advantageous for him to test, right? Like, I don't think he's just going to sit on the Senior Bowl and say, I'm going top 15. I think he still needs to show that he's fully healthy and that he's the explosive athlete that we think he is. So I'm going to go with Caleb Banks in interior defensive line. My underrated one here, Joe, I'm told this kid is going to fly. I have an underrated one for corner, too. And actually, this one's actually not that underrated now I'm thinking about it because he's a high-profile guy. But I'm going to go DeLeone Thieneman, the safety out of Oregon. Joe, he's supposedly going to run like 4.3 something, dude. Like, that's supposedly what Thieneman is going to do at like 6 foot.
I remember you told me a long time ago when I spotted him in the middle of his Purdue season before anyone was talking about him. You told me you didn't think he was very fast. So that's interesting.
I still don't, I mean, do you think he's 4.3 something on film? Like,
I don't think for the fact that he could cover from range and he was playing free safety, I don't know necessarily but I thought he could have been a 4.4 kid. I thought that his ability to cover as deep as he could was pretty unbelievable.
I think he's good range. I think he has good range, but I also think Zakee Wheatley from Penn State has very good range, but I don't necessarily think he's a great straight line speed guy.
Fair.
So, I mean, it doesn't always calculate to it, but either way, I've been told Thieneman is going to test phenomenally well, so I'll do Thieneman and Caleb Banks on my back-to-back to start here.
All right, linebacker. Oh, man, am I taking a risk here with this player?
Dude, I have two guys written down. I'm like, I don't know if either one of these guys are going to test.
The guy that I want is Sonny Styles.
Right.
The guy that I want to take is Sonny Styles. He falls into the conversation of why would he go out there and test because he has established himself. But maybe if you, as you just said here at the Downs brothers, if you know that you're going to run fast, why not go out there and prove it? And he could turn himself into a lock to be a top 5 pick if he puts up some ridiculous numbers. So let's go with Sonny Styles, the linebacker. I don't know who I want to go with at corner.
You would not pick the guy that I'm going to pick a corner in a million years. Like, you could have 10 guesses, you wouldn't get the guy.
So what other positions do you still need to take?
I need to take corner. I need to take linebacker.
Okay, so I need to hope that I take the corner that you want. Damani Jackson was apparently a ridiculous track athlete, from what I recall. So I'm going to take
like a 10 300-meter guy or something like that, right?
I'm going to take Damani Jackson. He's also got a pretty big frame, so I'm going to go with Damani Jackson, the Alabama corner.
That's not who I'm going to take. So there you go. Wait, but every position's been touched now, right? So we're just going through guys that were.
You need edge, linebacker, corner, and then I need defensive tackle and safety. So just feel free to rip your 3.
Yep, corner here, Joe. I'm going to go with Charles Demings out of Stephen F. Austin. I was going to quickly pull up the numbers that I was told on Charles Demings as far as what he is going to test at. If I can pull it up real quick, I cannot. For some reason, it's not loading. But supposedly, Joe, Charles Demings is going to run between 4.38 and 4.4 flat as a 6-foot-plus corner, going to have a 40-plus inch vertical, going to have an 11.5-foot broad jump, and going to have really good short area stuff. So,
wow.
Yeah, apparently he's going to test.
So he could be the corner small school darling that nobody knew about. That he could.
He's the guy
buzz.
that I think you're getting steady in like 6th and 7th round mock drafts. That's probably going to go more like top 125 than he is 6th round. Like I think that's who Charles Demings is in this class. So Demings is my guy. So my safety group and my corner group are done. So I have my secondary fully finished. I'm going to go with a weird one at linebacker because I would love to pick Arvell Reese, but like, why would Arvell Reese test? Why would he do that? I was thinking about Harold Perkins because he's probably going to run fast, but he's small. So like, there's.
What about Anthony Hill? Anthony Hill's an interesting one. I'm
not going to pick Anthony Hill. You know, I'm going to take. This is going to be the weirdo pick of the draft, right here. Wade Woodaz out of Clemson is the guy that I am going to pick at linebacker. I was told that he is going to test remarkably well for a bigger linebacker. So I don't think Wade Woodaz is very good, but we're just predicting guys who are going to test really well. So Wade Woodaz is my linebacker, which is going to be a really, really strange one for some folks.
And knock out your edge to close this out.
Dude, I want a Keldrick Falk. There's nobody else I really love. I'm going to go with Anthony Lucas out of USC. He's 6'4 plus. He's 270 pounds. He's pretty explosive on film, so like maybe he's got some good jumps in him and stuff like that, but I don't feel great about that edge spot, to be honest with you.
Yeah, there's really not many other options because like the immediate go-to would be David Bailey, but
he's not big. Right. Like he's long, but
he's not big. But he's also no benefit from going out there and doing. This is kind of the thing that sucks about these conversations is that it used to be fun getting to see what a lot of these guys can do, and half the time we're kind of hoping that a guy performs and goes out there. I'm going to take Dominique Orange as my defensive tackle. He was on the freaks list, and the other thing, too, is he's huge. He's a meaty man. He's a gigantic nose tackle. And have you watched that dude hawk down a screen? He could run really well. I love the idea of Dominic Orange. Why are you laughing at me so hard?
Because he's like 6'1", bro. His RS is going to be so low on height. It's going to be crazy.
No, stop talking
I
crazy.
love Big Orange, man. I don't know how well Big Orange is going to test. He's funny. He's a fun player, though. He's super fun. Before we kick out of here, can we knock out a couple guys that were on our short list?
I got a safety. I have a safety.
You didn't pick safety yet. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Oh, I'm interested in the safety one.
Oh, my God. I don't know who to... is Manuel McNeil-Warren good to go?
I think so. I mean, he was... Yeah, I think he's good.
I'm going to take Emmanuel McNeil-Warren, the safety from Toledo, who is an unbelievable athlete. He is a gigantic framed safety who he should test. Because if he goes out there and he runs, do you think he could be sub 4.5? Do you think he could be able to do that capably?
If I mean, he's probably in the 4.5s, but like if he ran like 4.48, I wouldn't be like shocked. You know what I mean? Like he's probably like a 4.52 type of
wonders for him. That would do tremendous wonders for him for building some buzz.
The other safety I had written down was VJ Payne for a lot of the same reasons out of Kansas State. He's just a massive safety that moves well, right? So that's Yep.
All right, any other guys you want to throw out there to just give some shouts to?
Yeah, I'll be real quick with this. So for the defensive line group, I also had Lee Hunter written down just for the massive size. I had Peter Woods written down because I feel like Peter Woods will probably test. I mean, after the season he just had, I think he has something to prove. But him, Arvell Reese, Harold Perkins, I mentioned at linebacker. Defensive back, I had VJ Payne, as I mentioned, Emmanuel McNeil-Warren at safeties. I had Damani Jackson written down because Damani Jackson was like a 10, 300-meter guy in high school.
Yep.
Colton Hood from Tennessee was a 10-4 guy in the 100 meters in high school as well. And then I had Braden Cisse out of South Carolina, the corner who also played a lot of nickel at NC State because he supposedly is going to run in the high 4.3s as well. So pretty fast, big corner group we have this year, which should be super interesting. All those guys I just mentioned are not small corners, like Demings, Cisse, Colton Hood's a little skinny, but he's not small, and then Damani Jackson. So like all those bigger corners are apparently going to run really well.
All right, let's close out with this. Ryan, the Miami Dolphins were unexpectedly quick to get rid of Tyreek Hill and Bradley Chubb, two of their more well-known players on their roster. If we look at this team, man, it's kind of barren. The Dolphins decided, apparently, right from the jump that they are going to scrap this roster and they're going to start to build up from scratch. Feels like Tua's probably next. If they were this quick to move on from those players, they're probably trying to navigate what is the best possible situation for Tua. Can they find a trade partner? I highly doubt it. Ryan, I want to ask you this from the draft perspective. What do you see as the vision for the Dolphins? What do you see as the path for success? Is this a year where they punt on 2026 and they try to take advantage of some early picks and build up some depth, find a starter with their first-round pick, and look towards 2027 where they're going to have a lot more options, hopefully, at quarterback?
Yeah, I don't think that you can bank on solving your quarterback spot in the 2026 NFL draft. And I don't even think free agency really, Joe. I mean, I guess it's possible that with the Jeff Hafley, who's the new head coach for the Dolphins, with his connection to Malik Willis, maybe that's a route they potentially go at quarterback. But I really do think that I think there should be an attention to being patient with the Dolphins right now, because this is not a team that is a quarterback away or a couple players away from being a really good football team. They had a fire sale, which tells me that they understand the foundation right now stinks. Like, we have to break down this foundation and we need to build up slowly. So what I think is going to happen is that they're going to try to get as much as they can out of the 2026 rookie class, and they're going to slow build to find their quarterback at the right spot. So I don't think that this is going to be a quick turnaround. I don't think this is a rebuild. I think this is a fractured foundation from the previous staff under Mike McDaniel, and I anticipate that this is going to be a team that says, we are going to build this thing up back very slowly. We're going to let a lot of rookies get baptism by fire in 2026, and we're going to be patient with finding a quarterback, because I just don't think, like, all the moves that we've seen so far with James Daniels and Tyreek Hill and Tua on the horizon, all these types of things, this points to me, Joe, that you said what we had as the foundational pieces aren't good enough to be a team that can make a big jump in 2026 or 2027. So let's completely tear it down. So I think they're tearing down the foundation, and I hope that some patience follows that foundational rebirth.
Yeah, I give early credit to the understanding of where they sit. A lot of times I think, especially with a new general manager and a new head coach that haven't had those roles before, there's just the thought of, man, we can turn this team into a winner right away. I think having that understanding that, hey, we have to rip this thing apart down to the studs and see what we can get out of this team this upcoming year and then look to the future.
Right.
It's not tanking. And I don't imagine that they're
it's okay.
It is, but it isn't.
It's tanking. Yeah.
They claim that they don't tank in the NFL, but this team's probably going to be very bad this upcoming year. I doubt that they're going to be a team that's going to jump into the mix and start spending a lot of money. There is, and the thing that's been compared a lot with this circumstance with Tua specifically, is the Denver Broncos, where they got rid of Tua. They got rid of Russell Wilson. They immediately jumped into that first season under Sean Payton. Everybody said that Sean Payton was a doofus and that he was in over his head and, he shouldn't have got back into coaching. They understood that they needed to suck. They stunk. They drafted Bo Nix, and then they immediately hit the ground running and were as competitive as they possibly could have been. There are a lot of pieces to work with on this team. They still have Minkah Fitzpatrick. They still have Chop Robinson. They still have Kenneth Grant, who they drafted this past year. Jordan Phillips is a solid player that they drafted in this past class as well. I believe he was the past class. Yeah, he was. He was in 2025. Their offensive line's not great, but they did take Jonas Avenea, who has potential. They didn't get what they were hoping to get out of Patrick Paul or Austin Jackson. So do they decide to look to different situations here with their offensive line? And, of course, Jalen Waddle and Devon Achane are the two big-time playmakers that they have on offense. Interestingly enough, Ryan, I think what helps them this year to establish the path of rounding out their team with a class that has some solid day two depth is the fact that they've got they have three third-round picks. So they've got a first, they've got a second, and then they've got three third-round picks from the Texans and from the Eagles. So there's a really good opportunity here that you're probably not going to hit like ridiculous home runs and be a team that gets starters out of all three of these players. But if you get contributions from those guys, I think from those selections, that ends up setting your team on the path to success.
So I think when you really dissect the hirings this past offseason with them, and I already mentioned obviously Jeff Hafley as head coach, but John Eric Sullivan obviously comes from that Green Bay Packer background as well, Joe, where you look at them and you say, what have the Packers been doing the last, what feels like forever? They've always been a draft well, retain talent team. They haven't been like a big, like, we're going to mash things up with free agency. So I really do think there's going to be an attention to detail from a draft perspective, and we're going to see kind of, again, that's why I think it's going to be a little bit more of a slow build, like a slow rebuild comparative to some teams that are just like, let's flip this roster quickly. That's why, because like the Green Bay Packers, like when you think about them right now, everybody they have that is a substantial player for them is homegrown, right? It's like Jordan Love was a draft pick that had to sit behind Aaron Rodgers for a couple years. All your wide receivers are homegrown. All your offensive linemen, Elkton Jenkins, all those guys are homegrown. Defensively, the majority of them are homegrown. So I do think there's an attention to detail outside of Micah Parsons, obviously, in the trade this past offseason, to be a homegrown team that builds and retains top talent. So again, I think 2026 NFL Draft is going to be a great kicking off point for this team. But I really don't think that we're going to be talking about the Dolphins for the next couple years in terms of when are they super relevant, which is also why I don't think, again, that they're going to make a splashy quarterback move this offseason. For me, Malik Willis sounds good in theory with their relationship to that staff, with his relationship to that staff. But is Malik Willis going to walk into the Dolphins organization next year and turn this team around into a playoff team? No. And then also,
they're not the team that's a fit for Malik Willis, because if you're
Agreed.
Malik Willis makes more sense on a Steelers type team that desperately needs quarterback competitiveness. Maybe a team like the Browns because of having a good athlete in Monken's offense, and their defense is really good. There's a potential that their defense ends up being really, really good this upcoming year with some of those youngsters taking an even bigger step. The Dolphins shouldn't do that. Investing in Willis before you have even a system for him to succeed in would be misguided, completely misguided.
And also, he's still a younger, inexperienced player. I know he started a few games the last couple years for Green Bay, but like he's still a kid, a younger quarterback that needs a little bit more of foundation around him and structure around him and support around him. Are you going to drop him into Miami and just go sink or swim, Malik, even though you're making $30+ million a year? I think that's a bad strategy, in my opinion, because I don't think that Malik Willis is necessarily a guy that is going to elevate everyone around him, bring him into a good structure, and continue building what he's been building over the last couple years for Green Bay. But I really do think that that is just the wrong fit for him. So I know Dolphins fans, I've already seen it online of like Dolphin fans clamoring for Malik Willis with his relationship with the new staff that is now in Miami that came from Green Bay. But when you look at it, I just really think that he is the wrong fit at the wrong time for this team. I think this team needs to be super patient with quarterback, which I know sucks in the NFL fandom world, but I really do think it could pay off long term because you have some interesting builders now a part of your program, but I really think that patience is needed on this next step.
We'll see what the Miami Dolphins do. We're going to be back on Wednesday. Hit that like button and subscribe, folks. We'll talk to you later.